Hey everyone, me Kevin here. Since the $600 checks have started showing up for many of us, it's official, I have shaved. Well, actually, Lauren did, and she'll be posting a video tomorrow about that, and share some clips over on her channel at Meet Lauren. Anyway, we have some updates on stimulus going forward, and, well, some commentary looking back at these $2,000 checks. So let's knock out the commentary, and let's look forward, and let's get to the updates. Congress missed their opportunity to pass the $2,000 stimulus checks today. The NDAA veto was overridden, but stimulus checks were completely shut out in terms of increasing the $600 checks to $2,000. So for the time being, that has failed. Even Mitch McConnell's bill, the bill he put together, never even made it to the floor, which makes you wonder why Mitch McConnell even wrote it. The Senate's next session is scheduled for Sunday, January 3rd. It will be the first time we have an initial start date to a session of Congress on a Sunday in a very long time. The session will begin at 11:45 a.m. in the Senate, and this will officially mark the start of the 117th session of Congress, which does mean that the Cash Act is dead, that $2,000 check bill. Now, maybe it'll come up again, but it'll take getting through the Georgia election first. In the meantime, we do have a few reactions to look at, and then we'll hit some other updates as well. Let's go ahead and jump over to some reactions, specifically Donald Trump, who has been notoriously quiet here in the last, 48 hours regarding $2,000 stimulus checks, until, of course, the $2,000 stimulus check measure failed, which I thought was a little odd. Donald Trump did tweet, "A Republican Senate just missed the opportunity to get rid of Section 230, is how he started his discussion, which gives unlimited power to big tech companies. Pathetic." He's calling Congress pathetic for not dealing with Section 230. Mitch McConnell didn't even bring it up for a vote. Now, they want to give people ravaged by the China virus $600 rather than the $2,000 they so desperately need. Not fair or smart. It kind of here feels like Donald Trump a little bit is playing the victim card, that Donald Trump was trying to do the $2,000. He signed the $600 solely because he was told that the $2,000 were going to get voted on in the House, not the Senate, in the House, and that the Senate would bring it up. So Mitch McConnell, it's almost like Mitch McConnell, that's probably what he did, is Mitch McConnell probably just went through the exercise of, okay, Trump, I'll write a bill for you. Here you go. $2,000 stimulus checks. What else do you want, Trump? Oh, Section 230 repeal? You got it. And he's probably thinking to himself, this is never going to happen. Oh, an inquiry into the election? Okay, you got it, Trump. No problem. Hey, here you go. Here's a 16-page bill. I will bring this up in Congress next week. Can you sign the $600 checks? I bet you that's exactly what happened. And now Donald Trump is like, what? I got neither? Well, where were you the last 48 hours? Anyway, we did get Lindsey Graham sharing some commentary. Lindsey Graham says, "With all due respect to my Republican colleagues, a $2,000 direct payment for individuals and families who are struggling is not socialism." I could not agree more. In my view, it is necessary in the times in which we live. Lindsey Graham goes on to say, "This country is being overwhelmed by COVID, hospitals are full, and businesses are hanging by a thread. Direct payments may not be the most efficient way to help people in need, but given the situation we face, they are extremely necessary." Yeah, and they could have been made potentially more efficient if Republicans were so freaking worried about people making six figures getting the checks, although honestly, it is expensive to have children, so if you have more children and your income does go up, it's not like most of the money would go to people making six figures, but anyway, I think we've talked that one to death with why people making six figures have we're going to get $2,000 checks. And if you're still confused about that one, watch the last video. I broke it down in the last video. But anyway, Lindsey Graham goes on to say, "Going from $600 to $2,000 doesn't make you a socialist. Mr. President, keep fighting for the American people who are suffering. Insist on a standalone vote." Honestly, Lindsey Graham, dude, you said this you said this today. Why did you say this after Mitch McConnell had his debate? Like, when you say insist on a standalone vote, Donald Trump, why didn't you say this 3 days ago when the Senate started talking about this? Or maybe 2 days ago when the Senate was first like, no, we don't want to do it? Or how about yesterday when the Senate's like, no, we don't want to do $2,000 checks? Where were you then, Lindsey Graham? It's very confusing that the people who seem to be very vocal about the $2,000 checks didn't seem to really push hard when the time to push hard really mattered. And that's not to slam Republicans either. Look, Bernie Sanders threw in the towel as well. He told us he was going to filibuster and he didn't. I'm just starting to think all of Congress is a joke. And I guess I shouldn't say I'm starting to think that, because you're probably thinking to yourself, like, come on, we knew this 9 months ago. Fair. Anyway, AOC, which you can only imagine what she's going to say. It's usually an attack of some sort. But anyway, she goes off and says, she's creating a satirical quote here of Lindsey Graham. Fighting for the people's best material dignity is socialist, and I will fight against it as much as possible. Unless Trump makes me support it, but I reserve the right to call whatever I don't like socialist again when it suits my agenda. I don't know if this kind of stuff is productive. This is one thing I have to say. I don't like it, and I will call a Republican out on this just like I will a Democrat. I don't like it when congressmen and women do this. Like, what is the point of this? Is that supposed to make Lindsey Graham feel good? Is that supposed to make other Republicans feel good? Is it supposed to make other Democrats think you're somehow more capable of putting deals? Like, I don't get it. I honestly don't get it. We did have this from Warren Gunnels here. This person, it works for Bernie Sanders' staff. And this is actually an interesting argument here. He says, Lindsey Graham did not show up to the floor of the Senate one time this week to demand a vote on the $2,000 direct payment. Not a single damn time. Now the Congress has ended, and it looks like the first time a bill can be introduced is 20 days from now. Wow, that's incredible. I actually did not know that. So this means that if Congress basically wins the January 5th election, or I should say Democrats win the January 5th election and Mitch McConnell is out, Democrats couldn't even bring up a bill basically until the Biden presidency. And then Warren Gunnels goes on to say, thanks for a whole lot of nothing. This is a good insight here. So basically, for the next bill to go through, we are stuck waiting until January 20th, Inauguration Day. And Lindsey Graham did not show up this week, which is true. You know, we had a lot of people go to the floor. We saw John Thune. We saw Dick Durbin. Obviously, we saw Bernie Sanders and Josh Hawley. We saw Cornyn, Republican, very vehemently against this. We saw a lot of people, but yeah, it's true. Lindsey, hey, if you were meeting with Trump and you were so enthusiastic about getting these checks on the golf course, where was it when, you know, push came to shove and we actually needed people in Congress to have a real debate about this? Either way, at this point, the $2,000 checks are dead until, well, at least now 20 days from today. That is, if Democrats win, maybe they can bring this up again on January 20th. If Republicans maintain control, expect more of the same in Congress, more gridlock. Republicans will be grateful, as that is a limit on Democrats. So that would be a limit on maybe potential things like a Green New Deal or a Biden-style Green New Deal or Biden Care, Medicare for all, right? Limitations on potentially taxation. Republicans will be grateful for that if Republicans maintain control of the Senate. If Democrats take control, well, then Democrats will be excited for those things. Of course, then Republicans will be disappointed that they don't have Mitch McConnell acting as the firewall for Democrat priorities. Now, as a reminder for most of you receiving PEUC or PUA unemployment or even unextended benefits, just remember you should, in most states, just have to continue filing your claims, and you should automatically be able to receive the 11-week extension. There are indications right now that there should be no lapse in pay. At least that's what the Labor Department is saying. Obviously, it comes down to each state. Kabbage.com, by the way, has also provided a new splash screen encouraging users to simply log into the Kabbage portal for a second PPP inquiry. So far, they are the first one to indicate this. We also don't yet have rental relief information, and since it's New Year's Day, I'm not surprised, but evictions start happening in 31 days, and somehow local housing agencies are supposed to go through all of these eviction, or applications, I should say, for rental relief once we're able to actually submit them. And I'm a little bit nervous about that because I feel like these local housing agencies are going to be overwhelmed by these applications. And when push comes to shove and these portals come out, next week sometime, people are really going to have 3 weeks to get their application in and somehow reviewed and somehow money distributed before an eviction takes place. It's going to be a rush, especially since the housing agencies are just going to sort people by their income. So if you're a tenant or landlord looking for that rental relief, have your rental agreement ready on a PDF on your computer. Have your proof of security deposit, your proof of payments or proof of missed payments, late billing, any kind of eviction notices or late payment notices, 3-day pay or quits. I would have all of this together on every tenant that was late and potentially eligible for rental assistance if you're a landlord, which if they're late, they're pretty much eligible for rental assistance. And if you're a tenant, I would do the same thing. I would be very, very prepared with this, and I would even consider starting to coordinate with my property manager on that, especially since you can apply for future rent as well, so stay tuned for that. On Monday, Donald Trump will be campaigning for Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue in Georgia. On Tuesday, the special election in Georgia takes place. And on Wednesday, Donald Trump will hold a rally at 11 a.m. with details to be determined in terms of exactly where. Donald Trump also promises to present a lot of evidence of election fraud on the 6th. The House of Representatives also introduced some new rules today, some new rule changes, which could make it easier for bills to get through the House without the minority's significant political intervention. Now, we're not too worried about the House getting things done because they have very clear control right now. What's more important seems to be the Senate, and of course, we'll have more insight on this next week. Part of the rule changes, though, which was really interesting, do include the potential easing of some rules for subpoena power for current or past presidents and their staff, which does seem oddly targeted at Trump. Also, the judge handling the Gohmert lawsuit, which would have given Pence more power over changing the outcome of the election, just dismissed that lawsuit. That was pretty big news if you've been following the election news. Then on COVID, I will make a comment here that Trump argues that some states are too slow to inoculate despite receiving enough doses from the federal government. States counter this and argue, at least via Bloomberg, that there are no consistent plans for distribution, leaving healthcare staff confused as to what to do. Rules and procedures just really aren't set up properly. There's no real education in terms of where somebody's supposed to get a vaccine. Things feel a little confusing right now in terms of the vaccine, and the federal government is heavily relying on states who already have substantially overwhelmed healthcare systems. Now, states are receiving vaccine distribution money, but as state and local governments don't receive any other kind of funding support, it's possible that state and local governments are just, in general, overwhelmed. Now, Mitt Romney, who's often critical of Donald Trump, so it's not surprise, does point the finger directly at the federal government, says it's the federal government's fault that vaccines are coming out slowly. Again, not too terribly much of a surprise coming from Romney, but it is commentary, and I'm always trying to throw out commentary from both sides here. So, there we have it. Thank you so much for watching this update. If you found it helpful, consider sharing it, subscribing, and folks, we'll see you in the very next video. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.